It's Tuesday, 26th, and it's about 8:30, give or take. Doing a little grilling out. Smoked my last backwood. And yeah, it was a good start to the day. Got pretty good sleep. Angie got pretty good sleep. We woke up and got frisky. So frisky. So that was good. And I went to Oasis for breakfast. Angie had mush for the first time. I don't know what there is. Like, right? Can't tell if that's just on the screen or on the camera. I don't know, like a smudge or something. But let that bastard a little crooked. But anyway, she never had mush, I guess, so she had some mush, which is one of my favorite breakfast foods. Well, we had a good chat, and I hadn't really heard any more news from Las Vegas, because it was just last week that they sent in the paperwork to then get the permit for the cremation. And though I did get an email from the lady at the funeral home that has a bunch of PDFs of different scatter tubes. It's interesting finding out the nuances of cremation containers and urns. But there's a type that are classified as scatter tubes, and those are so that it makes it, for people who plan to scatter ashes, more convenient to do so. And then some of them even have the big tube and then a smaller tube, whereas the big tube may be either kept or interned, which would be the case in our situation, and then the smaller one to scatter ashes so that you don't have to open the big tube. And one of those, well, there's a really good line in Dances with Wolves, which I watched with Caleb the other day, where when Kevin Costner's character had tried to get himself killed and then ended up kind of getting well, not a promotion per se, but reassigned. Whoever rolled this backwards did a little snaggly. It's burning weird. But anyway, he says something like, the strangeness of this life cannot be, it wasn't calculated or predicted or something like that, but basically he's saying that life's fucking strange, because in trying to produce his own death, he ended up, getting a positive outcome out of it. But I was thinking about the strangeness of synchronistic or, coincidental timings and things like that. Because this afternoon, right after I'd gotten this email on all these various scatter tubes that could be chosen from, Lydia and I were watching some funny videos on YouTube, and one of the things that we like to watch is H3, have for years, before they really even blew up. and they coincidentally had, I guess, just had Mark Riboulet on there, and he did just kind of an off the cuff thing where he built a song, and they were talking about some story in the news which had to do with cremation and COVID and all this kind of stuff. So he did this song called, oh, what was it called? I mean, he just made it up, but it was like oh yeah, it was Earn. I think it was Earn Your Ashes, but you are in Earn, you know. And then he made it kind of greasy and funny and everything like that. And I'm like, this is just, you know, fucking how irony works in my life, you know. I say often that I don't really have, there's not really, when irony visits me, it's either something really positive or really shitty. There's not really any in between for me so much. So I have kind of a strained relationship with irony. But anyway, you know, it's like, out of all the days that two people that I think are hilarious, or, well, H3, then the Mark fella, they just happened to, you know, he happened to be on their show, and then what do they do of all things? A fucking random ass song about cremation. So anyway, on the day that I'm getting cremation tube selections for my deceased son, Nathanael, and it's just so hard to believe that it's been, today's the 26th. I mean, it was the 5th, the night of the 5th, right before midnight when we found out. It's been 20 days. You know, 20. Where the fuck has the last 20 days gone? But anyway, for the most part, today was a pretty good day. A family member who we don't see very often, but close family member, sent us a check that arrived in the mail, and that was great and unexpected, because that'll really help out with the expenses which mount up in situations like this. So that's all extraordinarily appreciated by our family. Well, by our close, you know, the people in this house family, of course, of our family in the greater sense, and also friends who have been helping out with contributions toward all the costs. So that takes pressure off, financial pressure, to a certain degree. So that's one of the blessings that's riding the coattails of this curse. Yeah, just grilling out, and had a little bit of a frustrating interaction this evening, but no biggie. Iron that out, and got some walking in. Yesterday was good. I went down to Oasis solo and wrote for a good while, listened to music on the way down. Nathaniel always walked around town when he was by himself. He just loved walking around, you know, which runs in the family. And he'd listen to his favorite, for the most part, rap in his earbuds, but, you know, he had a very eclectic musical taste. But I was kind of following his lead and listening to Roddy Ricch live with the Trap Orchestra yesterday. I really love that fusion stuff. And then wrote one poem unexpectedly. Well, it was one of those times where I just went, you know. The poetry naturally follows. I didn't go to write or not to write or anything. I was just going to go have a cup of chili and coffee, and ended up writing a poem called Bellyful, which piggybacked off of the poem that I wrote for my dad, or about my dad having passed away, and how that hit me one particular day at breakfast, called Mixed Fruit Jelly and Razor Blades. Um, and then I was just posting a little picture where I'm past the halfway point of this year's poetry journal, and we're not through half the year yet, but I'm multiple pages past the halfway point, and I took a picture where I was like looking at the spine where I'm writing, and I just started to make a comment about that, and the comment turned into its own poem called Bucking Bronco. So I ended up writing a second poem. And then going back through like some of my emails where I've just sent myself emails with poems and snippets and songs over the last 20 days. I found stuff that I forgot I even wrote. Just like I see it, it's like, what the hell is this, And written in these moments of very intense emotional, outpouring, compression, sorrow, joy, elation, um, all fused together. Welded together by circumstances, which is one of the reasons I'm glad that I write shit down for the most part when it comes to me. And then let the days after sort it all out when I get to it, put it in transcribe it over into the primary poetry journal. So anyway, but the family's doing well. I mean, the kids are resilient. We're all dealing with things and dealing with them separately and together in our own ways individually, and then as our own way as a family. And and then folks' comments and messages and interactions and all that, help just that you're not in it alone, because the aloneness can creep up on you. The feelings of aloneness, when you're not expecting them sometimes. It's strange, the butterfly flapping of situations that can all of a sudden put you in a particular, mood as it relates to everything. But and then of course just life, just life. It's pandemic, everyone. Even the pandemic's getting boring. And yeah, trying to keep shit listed on eBay, or new stuff listed, and trying to keep the money going, and just making it, just doing my thing. And I finding a lot of laughs, a lot of smiles, more than probably one would think by these the tone of these diaries. But the gallows humor is strong with the Doherty family, and just humor and banter and roasting and remembering, and so that's good. That's good. We're strong. We love one another. We're there for one another, and we're helping each other to sort it out. But what I wouldn't do if none of this situation existed. But it does, And I find myself flipping back through pages of things that I've written just in the beginning or throughout this this year's journal so far, and things that I've written holding me accountable to do what I know is what I need to do. Not putting too much pressure on myself in the day-to-day to just be busy, because a certain amount of busyness helps, a certain amount of distraction helps, but that hand can definitely be, I think, overplayed in a time of grieving. So I just find myself trying to daily reassess, balance, and trying to do this dance of life with this weighty addition of dealing with Nathanael's death, which adds a great deal of complexity to the precarious movements that are, if you want to call it, normal life. But death is part of normal life. It's atypical in the sense that thankfully it's, you know, it's not something that you're, unless you're in horrible circumstances, dealing with constantly, you know, one person after the other, or at the same time, or what have you. And there's no guarantees, you know, there's no guarantees of when things will happen. So you just try to do your best and be thankful for good and kind people in your life, and try not to get discouraged when suboptimal circumstances happen, or exchanges between, you know, people, or just what you see going on in society. You know, I mean, you can get bummed out because there's so many opportunities where people can do one another right, you know, and so many times we do one another wrong, and it just misses the mark. But anyway, I guess 17 minutes and some odd seconds is enough for today, because I got to attend to this grill over here. And hopefully I get back to a shorter little update tomorrow, and we'll go from there.